Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final of Southeast BIC's The Big Pitch 2021. We're so delighted that you've joined us here this morning as we highlight and celebrate some of the great startups here in the Southeast. The three, by now, nervous finalists here this morning were shortlisted from a very impressive list of applicants and illustrates the high caliber of entrepreneurs and startups in the region. It also illustrates and highlights the perseverance and resilience shown by entrepreneurs as we endure the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected everyone's personal and business lives during the past 20 months. Southeast BIC works every day with innovative startups and entrepreneurs, and our primary role with them is to assist them develop a scalable business and to secure the necessary funding to do that, both public funding and investment from the local enterprise offices and Enterprise Ireland, or via our management of the Halo Business Angel Network. And you can get more information on what we do and how we help startups on southeastbic.ie. But today is all about the three companies that are waiting on the sidelines to pitch to our esteemed panel of judges here this morning and to be crowned the winner of the Big Pitch 2021. So I'll just give you a flavour of what's going to happen this morning. So Rosemary will introduce our panel of judges momentarily, and then Siobhan will guide us through the actual pitches from our three finalists, Zurb AI, Avow, and Clouda. And then, while the judges are making their, no doubt, very difficult decision and discussing the merits of each of the three panelists, or the three finalists, I will have a chat with our panelists. We have Niamh Sterling from the Halo Business Angel Network. We have Barry Downs from Sure Valley Ventures, and Alan O'Neill from Web Data Works. Alan won the Big Pitch in 2020, so is handing over the crown here this morning, and we'll hear about his journey from the Big Pitch and his subsequent fundraising round during 2021. So I'm really looking forward to this morning's event. Best of luck to the three finalists, and I'll hand you over now to Rosemary, and Rosemary will introduce the judges. Thanks, Rosemary.
Good morning, everybody. We are so excited to be here and really excited about these three companies pitching, who are an amazing representation of what the Southeast is producing, both in health tech, in AI, and in conversational commerce, from Waterford, from Tipperary, and from Carlow. So brilliant regional representation as well. But first, we need to meet the judges who are going to put these three companies through their paces. So first of all, I want to say hi to Keith Brock. Keith is a senior DA with Enterprise Ireland's HPSU unit. Morning, Keith. Obviously, Enterprise Ireland are looking for HPSUs to support here and invest in the Southeast. What are you looking for today amongst these three finalists? What does winning look like for you?
Good morning, Rosemary, and good morning, everybody. Especially our three finalists. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. And as Rosemary said, I think it's really exciting to have three really strong representations for the Southeast. I'm heavily involved with the HPSU unit, and I do a lot of work down the Southeast. So really excited to hear and what you pitched today. I was part of the judging panel last year when Alan won, so you've big boots to fill, I have to say. Look, I think everybody knows from an Enterprise Ireland perspective, you know, we want companies that will scale and generate. I mean, we have our mark of 10 jobs, up to $1 million in revenue over 3 years. But really, for me today, I'm trying to just identify that golden nugget that, you know, has really identified a solution to a problem. Really important to us. Obviously, we want to see these companies that have potential to scale and not just focus on the domestic market. It's really important for us. And I suppose I'm looking at the, you know, strong domain knowledge, the team that they have around them. These are key components for us when we look at investing in a HPSU company. So I'll be eagerly listening to all three pitches in the hope that those that aren't HPSU move very quickly into HPSU and I suppose get the supports that we can provide them. Winning, what does that look like? I think today it's for me it's really about companies that can develop a sustainable business. You know, that's what we're looking for. You know, generate that employment in the southeast. You know, the 2K is absolutely fantastic. The iPad is absolutely fantastic. Whoever walks away with that today. But look, we're looking for companies that can compete on a global scale, and that's really what HPSU's focus is on. So I'm really excited about today's event. We won't put you through your paces, as Rosemary said. We're quite gentle in our approach, but look, I think we've I certainly have a very firm fix on what I'm looking for from a HPSU perspective, and to bring people into Enterprise Ireland. And I wish you all the best and enjoy. That's the main thing. Enjoy it.
Thanks, Keith. And Louise Grubb now I want to have a quick chat with. She needs little introduction to us here in the Southeast. She's a Waterford-based serial entrepreneur in life sciences with success stories such as NutriScience, Q1 Scientific and Trivium Vet under her belt. A finalist in the EY Entrepreneur of the Year competition, she understands the need for startup investment probably better than most. So Louise, thanks for judging today. You're very good to give us your time. Tell us maybe a little bit about you briefly, and then maybe what you're looking for. What does it take to scale a business at this level?
And look, thank you very much, Rosemary. It's really exciting. And what's really exciting is to be talking about scale at this early stage, you know, and because I think it's really important. I think you see so many startups, which are wonderful, wonderful ideas, but the ones that are thinking about scale from the very beginning, I think, are the ones that have a better chance of actually fulfilling that you're thinking about that. You know, I've set up a couple of different businesses. The current one is a veterinary drug development business. So it's very long term, but the potential to be an international business and from the Southeast is something that we're very proud of and that we're working towards. But I suppose from the opportunity today really is for you guys. We all know what our idea is. You know, when you start the business, you're an entrepreneur, you live this, you build this up. This is your baby. You definitely get very offended when somebody tells you have an ugly baby, which will happen. But one of the key things of something here today is getting across what your business idea is to potential investors, to potential buyers. So this is, I think, the start for some of you to be able to do this to a wider network. I know it's a competition, but I think it should be, you know, skills and the experience from this you should take away, because, you know, we trying to get our concept, our idea of what we're doing across to a wider group of people who may not be in our space, but that are very important to us is a real competency. It's a real skill, and it's something that you don't want to miss out on. So I think this competition, this opportunity is a great one. I hope you benefit from it. I'm really excited to hear more about the companies, and wish you all the best.
Brilliant, Louise. Thank you for that. Julian Seymour is our third and final judge, and he works with Dublin BIC and Halo Business Angel Network as a business consultant, working with early stage startups through that investment phase, much like we do here in the Southeast. So Julian, tell us what you're looking for today. What, obviously within HBAN, and you work particularly with the syndicates in HBAN. Tell us what those syndicates are looking for and what you're looking for out of these three companies today.
Yeah, very good. Good morning, Rosemary. Great to be invited to be a judge on the panel. I suppose that there's kind of two key things really that I'm looking for. Firstly, what is so compelling about this compared to what's out there already, and why will the potential customers be compelled to move from whatever they're doing now to whatever this proposed solution is? And I suppose with that, sort of articulating that compelling proposition, you know, how does that value really stack up to the customers who are going to buy it? The other thing really is around route to market and sales, and I suppose that's the thing that we see a lot with the companies coming into HBAN, and particularly into the syndicates, is they've got some great innovation, really knowledgeable, capable innovators, but sometimes sales competence isn't as high as let's say the innovation competence. So it's really to get clarity on what the route to market is, and confidence that they're going to be able to sell through that route to market and hit those objectives that, you know, Louise and Keith were speaking about earlier.
Brilliant. Okay, so if the companies weren't under pressure before those three people spoke, you certainly are under pressure now, lads. So listen, we're going to hand over now. Let's get this show on the road. Let's get the competition started. I'm going to hand over to Siobhan, who's going to run the physical competition, and we'll get these three pitches started. Thank you.
Thanks, Millie, Rosemary, and thank you to our impressive judge and panel for providing some insightful comments on what they're looking for today, but also comments on what they consider to be successful pitching. I hope that those who are pitching in the not too distant future take all of these comments on board, as they are very useful. So now moving on to the main event and the reason we are all here today, the big pitch final. So as mentioned before, we do have three outstanding companies from the Southeast here with us today. And I'd just like to say that the quality of the applications we received this year was second to none. And if we could have shortlisted 10 more applicants to pitch today, we would have been happy to do so. So if you applied this year and you weren't successful, don't be too hard on yourself. There's always next year. And I know there's a couple of people on this call who will vouch for that. So moving on, our companies are going to give a 4-minute pitch, and then we'll move over to the judges for some quick questions. So the first company that we have pitching here today is Zurb AI. Zurb is an AI company based in County Tipperary, and their promoter, Philly Hayes, is going to be pitching to us. So Philly, whenever you're ready, you might just share your presentation and we'll begin.
Sure, yeah, I'm all set.
Brilliant, begin when you're ready.
Brilliant. So thanks a million, everyone. Hi, my name is Philly. I'm part of the Zurb AI team. The technology and concept behind Zurb is built around my Cason's PhD in data science and my second colleague Manny's experience as an AI and cloud engineer. I was employee number 6 at the super successful Irish edtech startup LearnUpon, contributing millions of dollars worth of sales and building out the business development team. We've put together a best-in-class SaaS advisory board, from corporate finance to legal partners to grants consultancy. And additionally, we've just brought on board Jennifer Stevens from her 20 years experience in newspaper editing. We think she's perfect to convey our message to the world. Whenever we speak about Zurb AI, we purposely speak about our team first. So the 2020s is going to be the decade of data, and artificial intelligence is going to be the great differentiator. But organizations and individuals are struggling to understand how to harness that power. Take Megan. Megan's the BI director at the largest sandwich manufacturer in the UK. And the problem Megan is trying to solve is quite simple, really. If she provides a certain Tesco with too few or too many sandwiches on a given day, she doesn't maximize her company's revenue. But in order to accurately predict that number, it is incredibly difficult. Bringing in all the factors like a local football match that might be on, a local festival, or the weather, bringing in all those factors is moving beyond the realm of BI and moving into that of artificial intelligence. An increase of just 1% in accuracy would unlock anywhere between 2 and 4 million in profitability for Megan's organization. Additionally, solving that problem from a traditional perspective for Megan is very difficult, as it takes about 19 months to hire a data scientist and for one of their models to make it into production, and over 87% of models never make it into production. Enter Zurb AI, the enterprise AI platform as a service that enables Megan and her team to productionize machine learning within just 90 days. Additionally, predictive analytics tells you what's going to happen. Zurb's prescriptive analytics engine tells you what you should do. And it now tells Megan and Tesco how many sandwiches to order. So Megan is just one person and sandwiches are just one use case, but Zurb enables organizations to make good decisions, not gut decisions, and increase profitability for everyone involved. And we feel this is the future of decision-making, and this is decision intelligence. The market is incredibly large, so the enterprise AI market alone will be worth $53 billion in 2026, but that's not particularly how we think about it. We're US focused, but if we look at the Irish beachhead alone of organizations that have between 50 and 150 million in revenue, at our average deal size, that would put beachhead at over 10 million in ARR. Those organizations are only currently indirectly serviced by professional services companies. The competitors on the market who we do view as competitors are really great companies, but their price point leads to Fortune 1000 adoption at best. And our traction gives you a sense of what's possible. So we've only just launched into a private beta program that was oversubscribed, and we already have 2 letters of intent from that program. So when we commercially launch on the 1st of February, 2022, we're going to have over 6 figures in ARR. The way we think about how we'll get to $1 million in ARR is that over 18 months, we will add 20 customers at an average deal size of $50,000 in ARR each. Additional notes or milestones include us going through the NDRC pre-accelerator program and coming out with lots of investment options, some very interesting ones. We're inside the premium side of the NVIDIA Inception program, which unlocked over £100,000 in cloud credits with absolutely no equity dilution. And on the 13th of December 2021, we will be ISO 27001 compliant, showing our commitment towards information security and working with the enterprise. So our ask is quite simple. If you own or think about a revenue number within a business or advise someone that does, we'd love you to think about the impact artificial intelligence is going to make on that number. Then we'd love you to think about the impact artificial intelligence is going to make on your competitor's number. And then we'd love you to speak to us. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Philly. So now I'm going to pass it over to our judges. So if we have a question from one of our judges, that would be great. Julian, would you like to, or sorry, Louise, go ahead if you want to go first.
Sorry, you can call us out next time. So, look,
perfect.
Great. Listen, Philip, thanks very much. Great presentation, and you certainly covered in the presentation more than I think what I got in sort of the written piece. You know, I love the way that you've given the example of Megan. So my question for you is about what is your sales model? How do you find the Megans?
Yes. So what we're doing is we're initially bringing on board two things: a syndicate of investors that have connections in order to open up our network, but as well, I have experience in going to market with an Irish startup before and going to market in the US with an Irish startup before. So we've had meetings from people from Adidas to HSBC that have been cold outreach. So there's two sides: my experience plus bringing on a syndicate of investors who have connections with the right type of companies that we want to speak to. And so far, we actually have, believe it or not, too many meetings. I've never, in my career, I haven't had that before, but we have too many meetings at the minute. And so it's trying to meet the demand that we're getting at the minute, Louise. If that
okay, thanks.
Julian, do you have a question?
Yeah, I suppose just as much as you can in a very short time frame, can you elaborate a little bit on the secret sauce of the AI compared to what's out there?
Yeah, so there's a number of things. So if we look at, there's certain technologies that have gone live within the last 2 years, in particular one called PyTorch, which makes 90% of your data preparation, removes about 90% of the data preparation time. So there's two factors. What we try to do is remove that data preparation time and create a new foundation, so a new starting point for every data project to go onto. So anytime someone wants to access into data, they're not starting from scratch to clean it, wrangle it, and redo all of that work every time there's a new BI initiative. So a huge amount, Julian, is building in the foundation. And after that, then we're a microservice architecture. So bringing in the best technology for each individual component of the application. So I could probably go for about 10 minutes, Julian, to go through it. And my CTO, Jason, as well, there's one other item. So we've got a prescriptive analytics engine, which we are going to patent. It was built by Jason, who's got a PhD in this too. So there's a lot more I could go into, but just in lieu of time, that's what I'll go with.
Very good. Thanks, Philly.
Thanks, Philly. And Keith, do you have a question that you might?
Yeah. Hi, Philly. I'm going to agree with Louise. I got an awful lot more from that presentation than I did probably from the written document. And I think this whole sector is really, really interesting. One of the questions I suppose I do have, and it's probably two questions in one, just around, security options. I'm kind of interested in just trying to figure out, sometimes they can be quite limited in the specific hosting policies that the company has. Yeah. And that's a bit, and I've seen this before. I just wanted to know, have you guys addressed that, or what have you done on that piece? And my second question, and I will come back to it, is does this require customization for legacy systems? I mean, is there an issue there for some of the older systems, legacy systems, for you to come on board? So sorry, two questions, but the security is a big one for me.
Yeah, no problem at all. So what we built our product around is what we call the first data mile and the last data mile. The first data mile was starting a data project, and a huge amount of that is around making sure that you're secure and everything's in place there. So the technical answer to that is that we built something called a virtual data lake, and that virtual data lake will ping wherever the data is queried, bring that data across, train that model, and when that model is trained, that virtual machine is literally deleted with all data that goes with it. So that can happen in the organization's environment. And then finally, in terms of legacy systems, so there's a huge amount of innovation in this space. There's a reason why 3 people on our team can build something that we believe other billion-dollar companies that we've got feature parity with. And that's because the amount of innovation in this space. So we've created our application to be highly extensible. So you can plug in different aspects of it at different stages of the journey. So in terms of where legacy people will come in, and if there's vendor lock-in, we absolutely have areas to allow organizations to dip in and dip out, where we will try to, from a B2B perspective, land and expand that account into more, but also knowing that there's going to be a Zurb in 3 years' time that's even on even more cutting edge tech that's going to be biting at our heels at a certain part of the application as well, because that's where we live in. And as well, there's a massive reliance in this area on the open source. So we want organizations to be able to use really cutting edge open source technologies at certain points of their data journey also. So as best we can, Keith, we try to make our platform very extensible in that space.
Super, Philly. Thanks a million.
Brilliant. Well done, Philly. They weren't easy questions. And thanks a million, judges. So the next company now that we have pitching for us here today is Avow Medical, and they're Waterford based. Their promoter, Jane O'Sullivan, is going to pitch to us now. So Jane, if you wouldn't mind, please share your presentation and you can begin, and the very best of luck.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. My name is Dr. Jane O'Sullivan, and I'm co-founder of Avow. Have you ever had an operation? Think of all the information you receive. Hospitals either post or email the information leaflets. Surgeons have 10 minutes to convey everything. A nurse tells them all they need to know about aftercare instructions before they leave. From an institutional perspective, time and money is spent sending this information. There are repetitive follow-up calls about aftercare. All the leaflets and stationery add to a hospital's carbon footprint. From an administration perspective, there are plenty of steps where error can occur, from forgetting to send the letter, to sending wrong information, to forgetting aftercare instructions. From a patient perspective, information provision is fragmented and they feel abandoned afterwards. Check Google reviews for confirmation. Avow offers a platform to send content to all the relevant time points in the patient journey. An administrator simply fills out a short data entry form. Patients access the content via a simple text link or email. It can be watched time and time again by patients and families. Avow generates content for common operations and is developing content for all the top procedures. Apart from Avow, no other medtech provider offers end-to-end provision of patient content for all the top procedures. We also generate unique content. Avow offers a paperless method. No more postage and packaging, all the information necessary, from fasting to driving to consent. Information needs context and necessity. Rather than bombarding the patients with too much information at once, we send several different 2 to 3 minute videos. Shorter videos means that they will actually watch it. We repeat the main points in each video, ensuring better retention. Avow is a business-to-business healthcare solution targeting institutions. Unique content is commissioned by the institution. Institutions pay a monthly fee thereafter, SaaS-type model, for use of our delivery platform. Avow will start a pilot with a major public Dublin hospital in the coming weeks. We've been used in UPMC for several months now and will commence with another surgeon in the coming weeks. We've been used in an aesthetic clinic and dentist. We are negotiating procurement with the Dublin Public Hospital and intend to seek out other major institutions in the Irish healthcare market through to Q3 in 2022. We hope to commence with the UK market in Q4 of 2022. Our main competitor in the market, in the Irish and UK market, is Edo. They offer consent information leaflets to patients in PDF form and less commonly videos. While comprehensive legally, including every risk ad nauseum, we feel that the information is too dense. Avow was created by clinicians for actual real patients. We focus on patient experience as a primary aim, with legal protection as the secondary aim. Using the Avow portal is quicker than sending a letter. We reduce patient queries. A better patient journey has reputational benefits for the institution. We have an experienced team. I have 7 years experience as a doctor in perioperative medicine. Dr. James O'Sullivan is a technology transfer manager in WIT and has experience growing SMEs. Mr. Owen Fleming is a chief information security officer and ensures a secure platform. Mr. Mark Wickham is a lecturer in design and creates standard templates for Avow. Mr. Richard Skinner is a CEO and EI mentor and is responsible for building the platform.
Thank you very much, Jane. So now we'll move over to the judges. So Julian, I might ask you to go first this time, please.
Yeah, very good. I suppose, Jane, I'd be interested to learn, to understand what you've learned from your trials to date. What has the patient experience been like? What's kind of worked and what's not worked so well, and how you'll use that to inform the ongoing development of the product.
And thank you very much for a good question. I think our main learning point, initially, we kind of like Edo thought, let's get every bit of information in and let's make like a 15-minute video and patients will love it because it'll have everything they ever need to know. And the problem is, like, even after listening to me, but for 2 minutes, I'm sure a lot of your attention has waned. And it's really hard to, even 2 to 3 minutes is really the top amount of time that we can realistically expect a patient to watch the video. The other thing is just ensuring that that we signpost. So we've made sure there has to be clear communication that the patient will receive a text message with information from the hospital so that they're aware of the context of the text message.
And was there any variety between, let's say, the age spread of patients and their ability to engage with it?
No, because we try to hide the technology. So for all intents and purposes, they think they're just getting a text link, and it brings up a dynamic web page. We specifically didn't want to design an app because we can barely get patients to wash before surgery. Getting them to download an app and sign up for it, it's just not going to happen. This follows the 3-step rule of technology. In 3 steps, they have all the information they'll ever need.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you, Julian. Keith, have you a question for Jane?
Jane, how are you? Good to see you. Well done again. Very, very slick presentation. I suppose that the question I have, and obviously COVID probably would have hit you guys pretty hard. Let's be honest, looking at that sector. But you know what you're trying to do here is build up a library of videos for common procedures, correct? Realistically.
Yes, but we have managed to do it in a very cost-efficient way, so that we have all the architecture of the videos, and then it can be easily tailored to the individual institution. So you know, something as simple as adding in pictures of the clinical team can be easily done for very competitive prices.
And just on that, then, I mean, how many videos would you have currently in your bank that are ready to be sent out to patients?
We have 15.
15.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And your ideal.
We prefer to work with the institution to make content specific. So just when we were meeting the procurement team and the clinical team this morning in the public hospital, one of the points they said that the Irish Cancer Society does wonderful information like this, but the problem with the information is it's very generic. So it's like, you may be in hospital for 1 to 10 days, and then that doesn't really give the patient the information they need. And that is one of the criticisms, that you're just using a one-fits-all, whereas we also generate content that's specific, and on that basis that reduces the kind of follow-up concerns, because when we can give specific information, it means patients aren't calling with the same issues time and time again, which is happening for that team, and that's one of the reasons they approached Avow.
Okay, and presumably you will own the rights for the videos.
Yes, so if they want to use a generic video, we own the rights, but if they commission us to make unique content, then they own the rights, but obviously that's more expensive.
Yeah, listen, that's great. Well done. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Louise, do you have a final question for Jane?
Thanks, Jane. Thank you for your presentation. I suppose a bit around, I'm going to go back just to the sales model and your kind of financial model for this. And it touches on what Keith was saying. It's great to have the test sites, but to build on from there, what's your sales model going to look like in the broader scale? And also, it's quite individualized. So is there a way that you're hoping that some of this content will just be adapted and adopted, and that anyone can just plug and play?
Well, anyone can plug and play, and we do offer generics. So what we do is, if we're targeting institution level, so I don't want to name the hospital, but it's the biggest Dublin hospital. If we're not aiming for, little clinics, we're aiming for the institution. So the plan with them is, once we've had a successful pilot, it will go for procurement, and then we will negotiate a monthly fee. So while they have the content, there's a lot of issues with GDPR that means it's very difficult for an institution themselves to just send the videos. So they then need to use our platform to actually deliver the videos. So they initially pay us for content generation, which can be used throughout the entire institution. And then they pay us for a monthly fee to actually use the software to send the videos, because you can't just send the videos on WhatsApp. That's not in compliance with HIPAA or GDPR. So they will pay us to use the software that allows the videos to be sent directly to the patients.
And a customer like that, so is that your plan to sort of go, one clinic by one clinic or one hospital by one hospital directly and build it out for them from there?
Yeah, so I think when we have the pilot, so that this on a national level, it's something that we feel is absolutely transformative, and it's something that's a major problem for the HSE, because, and you can verify this if anyone's had a procedure, they actually post out leaflets. That's a genuine thing. So they post out the information leaflets, whereas with Avow, we're offering them a system where there's no postage, no packaging, no administrator sitting down actually typing up a letter. This is all automated, and we've made it so that it's actually quicker than sending a letter. So from a hospital perspective, while they are going to save time in terms of administration costs and postage and packaging. And I think with hospitals there is, and I've noticed in the last 5 years, there's definitely, been a move for carbon neutral and for paperless solutions. This will enable hospitals to actually reduce that paper load, because if I walk into clinic any morning, I'm constantly struck by the walls of leaflets that we produce. So there's many benefits, and I think there's cost savings for the institutions, which we think we can justify our monthly fee when they see how much they're going to save.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jane. All the best.
Thank you very much, judges, and thanks very much to you as well, Jane. So now, last but not least, we have our final company, Clouda. So Clouda are a Carlow-based conversational commerce company, and Ronan and Mark are here today to give us the presentation. So guys, you might turn on your cameras, share your presentation and begin. So it's very best of luck.
Thanks, Siobhan.
No worries.
We can all see?
It's share. Yeah, that's it there.
Great stuff. Imagine a world where making a purchase is as easy as sending a thumbs up in WhatsApp. Good news is you don't have to. It's already here. I'm Ronan.
And I'm Mark.
We're Clouda, and we are on a mission to bring conversational commerce to all. We empower businesses to sell to customers on the chat apps they love best, like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Instagram Direct.
We have a battle-hardened founding team. I'm a chartered accountant with more than 20 years of experience. I've founded and sold businesses in Ireland and the Middle East. Our CTO, Padraig, is an engineer and has been building and deploying e-commerce platforms in Ireland and the UK for over a decade. And Ronan is another corporate veteran, having led companies in Ireland and the USA. This isn't our first rodeo. Clouda is our third time working together, and we've spent the past 2 years immersed in conversational commerce.
Problem is conversion. 98% of people who visit an e-commerce website do not complete the purchase, 98% plus. Businesses globally are spending billions every year trying to convert visitors into customers. The problem starts before that for businesses trying to get people to visit their websites in the first instance, and then if they do visit and do complete a purchase, trying to get them to do so again and again, that 1 to 2%. That requires more spending, more ads, more promotion, more social media posting, more effort. Requires businesses to build and maintain relationships with customers. And this is where Clouda comes in. Chat interaction delivers up to a 10 times higher conversion rate than e-commerce websites. In simple terms, getting potential customers into a chat channel, even to say hello, multiplies the likelihood of closing a sale. And Clouda goes further than that. We bring e-commerce to the world's most popular chat apps. Messaging is omnipresent, and we help businesses engage with their customers directly in those personal channels, get to know them better, and serve them better than ever before, to sell to customers where they already are. How does it work? We take a business's product listing, and we use that to create automated conversations so the customer can easily complete the purchase in the chat app of their choice. Clouda allows the business to step into the conversation at any stage and assist if required. We're fully integrated with leading e-commerce platforms like Shopify, allowing seamless payment reporting and fulfillment. It's end-to-end from product listing to completed transaction. Plug and play, no code, no building, no hassle, no extra work for the business, just extra sales via a brand new sales channel. And we have the numbers. Over a 12-month period, one of our leading coffee roastery clients has seen a 23% conversion rate for users that sent in just a single message via chat. That rose to 59% for 5 messages or more sent. The retention rate has also been stellar. 48% of those who purchased via WhatsApp did so again, and 32% of all the customers used our single message reorder function.
Gartner has predicted that by 2022, 70% of customer interactions will involve automated messaging. Juniper Research projects that c-commerce will explode to $290 billion by 2025. It's about 41 billion today. There are already 80 million transactions a day on WeChat, reflecting the prevalence of c-commerce in Asia generally. Our focus will be EMEA markets, followed by the USA in 2023. We've started in 4 verticals with common attributes: coffee roasteries, craft breweries, independent beauty, and event ticketing. C-commerce is set to be the third big pillar of commerce, and the investment community has been paying attention. In the past year alone, more than $2 billion has been placed in c-commerce companies by seed investors, VCs, and corporates. There is a lot of activity.
So conversion rates of 23% and more, 48% retention, omnipresent messaging. C-commerce is here to stay. We're Clouda. We're raising seed capital right now. Let's start a conversation. Gurmagov.
Thanks a million for that, Mark and Ronan. Now we're going to pass over to the judges for the final time. So Keith, I might ask you to go first.
Sure. Again, great presentation, guys. Clearly, it's not your first rodeo. It was very, very slick. So obviously, you two of you work very well together. And I love the, I shouldn't say the simplicity of it, but I really do love the simplicity of popular chat apps, turning into instant direct sales. I think it's really, really super. The conversion rate, I had that down as one of my original questions, and I guess you're basing that off, I presume, the Badger and Dojo model that you had put in place there, where I'm just struggling to get my head around the kind of the figures that you're aiming for. How does the revenue model work for this platform. You know, how are you going to generate that level over the next 2-3 years? Is it commission? So maybe just give me a quick synopsis of how, or your thought process with that, please.
Sure, Keith, I'll take that. So Clouda is a B2B SaaS product. We'll encourage annual subscriptions at a discount to applying the monthly rate. So it's a sticky product, and we expect the average client lifetime to be 2 years or more. And our pricing approach, I should note, it's dynamic. So it depends on the vertical. So the pricing tiers I've outlined there are very much FMCG or retail focused. But for the event ticketing space, for instance, it'll be transaction based. And we've already, obviously, we've been selling tickets on that basis already. And then next year, we're looking to launch a freemium offering. So what we've learned is that clients, businesses, they need, this is a very new way of doing business, and they need to see it for themselves, need to experience it for themselves, and their customers need to experience it for themselves. So we're going to launch a freemium offering in Q1 next year.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Just on that, just before we jump. So I completely understand. Obviously, you'll make more on the ticket sales, but what is the average subscription model that you have there based on those different tiers? Just for my own.
Oh, in terms of pricing, Keith.
Yeah, pricing.
So the bottom pricing is €99 a month. That jumps to 189, and then after that jumps to 489. So this is very much a volume. It's a volume play. We need the scale.
Absolutely. No, that's great, guys. Thank you.
Brilliant. Louise, over to you. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks, guys. A great presentation. Lovely examples which make it, really clear, which is really key for a good pitch. I just want to ask a little bit more about as well around the sales in terms of the sales strategy, because it just wasn't very obvious to me. How, are there channels? You've identified 4 target markets, but how do you push it out? Even with the freemium model, how do you push it out to, and what do you expect the adoption rate to be?
Sure. I'll take that again, Louise. So basically, we've been working on a direct selling approach to date. That will always be part of our business model, direct selling. We've put a lot of research into this. That's what essentially is falling in line with our vertical by vertical approach. We've kind of put the research into the verticals before we've gone into them, know who to target. So next year, we'll really performance marketing will have a part to play. Right now, it's such a new way of doing business, and it's such a new technology. You're not going to get businesses searching for conversational commerce solutions. So it's about content marketing. It's about getting out there, letting people know this solution exists, and backing it up with the product usage data. That's the really strong stuff, what you've just seen in the presentation there. The freemium offering, again, back to what we've learned through seeing our clients and their customers interact with this product, is that once they're in the channel, they really them in advance before they get into channel. That's the challenge. So that's where the freemium offering is. So if we're able to go to clients and say, look, this freemium customers, the freemium offering is very much based on certain channels, like not necessarily on WhatsApp, because there's a cost to being on WhatsApp. So we feel like that will give their customers a great chance of experiencing it and then converting them to selling in that channel as opposed to other channels. So direct selling, content marketing with an element of performance marketing in the future, and just getting ourselves out there, getting it in use.
Great. Thanks, William.
Sure.
Julian, any final questions?
Yeah, great presentation, guys. Really, really interesting. I suppose when you're on the outside looking at all these companies doing stuff in e-commerce that come into us in BIC and in HBAN, it seems like a very kind of busy space with lots of big and small players, very fragmented, and the solutions do something quite simple but quite transformative. And often the question is, and I guess my question is, when you look at the bigger players and their capability to just introduce a c-commerce module or widget similar to what you have, the likes of eShop World or Magentos or various people like that. So be interesting on your thoughts on that.
So that the integrations with, you've mentioned eShop World, you mentioned Magento. In fairness to both platforms, Shopify, WooCommerce, the e-commerce players and the big techs, the Facebook, Google, Apple, etc., they're facilitating c-commerce as opposed to building anything for it today. And of course, that could change. But the big learning we have is context. It's easy enough to just go, oh, well, I'll just lash in some answers there that people will be able to use. But that doesn't turn out to be a very effective means of selling. And the conversations just collapse midstream or before. So without the context for the individual verticals and converting the information that's found within the e-commerce platforms in a logical and sensible way, you fail to actually see any conversion. That's what we've already seen in the last 2 years, and particularly last year working with live clients. So it's easy to say, oh, sure, we can just throw that in, but it turns out it's a little more complicated than that. Even take Shopify. We've got a handful of Shopify clients across half a dozen, and we've got half a dozen different means of using Shopify to display product images, to display product information, etc. All of that has to be translated accordingly, and facilitating that via their website is difficult enough, let alone bringing it into conversations. So we think that the challenges are going to be a big barrier for a lot of them to enter, basically.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mark and Roland, and well done on the presentation. So that's it. That's our 3 pitches for the day. Well done to all the companies. Your pitches were brilliant and very, very informative. So I'm now going to ask the judges to head off to deliberate. And I honestly don't envy you all, because it is going to be a tough decision. So I'm going to pass you back over to Aidan, who is going to have a fireside chat with our wonderful panel of speakers. And the chat is on all things pitching. So thanks a million, Aidan.
Thanks, Siobhan. Yeah, that was the really, really impressive pitches there. And as I said, don't envy the judges as they toddle off for their deliberations. So while we're waiting for the announcement of the winner of the Big Pitch 2021, I'm delighted to invite Niamh, Barry, and Alan. Yeah, you all have your cameras on, so we're ready to go. Really impressive pitches there, guys. Yeah, and doing it kind of live and doing it in front of the great wide public as well. It's very nerve-wracking thing to do. What I'll do is I'll just start with you each individually, and you might just give us a bit of background about your organizations and what you do in those organizations, if I may. We'll just ease ourselves into the chat. Niamh, if I could start with you, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the Halo Business Angel Network?
Sure. Hi, Aidan. Thanks for having me here today. So I'm Niamh Sterling, and I'm an investment consultant for the Halo Business Angel Network. So we're a network of just over 600 angels throughout the island of Ireland. And we have a number of syndicates around the country. Some of them are sector specific, such as medtech. We have Deep Tech Bloom, food. And then we also have open our forum, which is where individual angels invest as individuals in their own right, as opposed to part of a syndicate. We also have a number of overseas syndicate, London, New York, Singapore, Dubai. And really what we do is we invest in companies that are raising their seed round. We're sector agnostic, so we do invest in everything kind of from patented dog toys to medical devices and everything else in between. Not services is the only one that I'd say. So really what we're looking for is export-driven companies that are focused on big markets, that are raising their seed round. We get about 500 referrals a year. And out of those, and we select 4 or 5 companies to pitch at every event. And we have pitches from September to June. And we'd have a number of pitches every month, be it Kerry, West by Northwest, Bloom, and Forum as well. So we have a lot of pitch opportunities for high growth companies.
Thanks very much, Niamh. It just shows how competitive seeking investment is with those amount of inquiries that H-Bank get every year that convert into full deals. Is quite extraordinary. Barry, can you tell us a bit about yourself maybe and your journey and Sure Valley Ventures and what you guys are about?
Sure. Delighted to be here, Aidan, and the pitches were fantastic.
They were indeed, weren't they?
Yeah. They sure were. So I'm the founder and also the managing partner of Sure Valley Ventures. And we're a venture capital fund that invests in high growth software companies coming out of the UK and Ireland. And typically we kind of invest at the seed stage, and then we follow on at later rounds, such as Series A, Series B rounds. And we have specific sectors that we're very focused on. So one of those sectors is the metaverse, so augmented reality, virtual reality, gaming, esports, and also the crypto metaverse as well. Second area we invest in is artificial intelligence, Typically, we're looking for companies that are breaking new ground in AI. And then the third area we invest in is security tech. So typically cybersecurity or information security. We've invested in lots of Irish companies. So we've invested in locally in the Southeast, we've invested in immersive VR education. So with Dave and Sandra Whelan's company, and helped them IPO on AIM back in 2018. More across the country in the security space, we've invested in two wonderful companies in Cork. One is Smart Tech 247, another Ronan Murphy, and you may know Ronan. He was very involved in helping the HSE with the hack that they experienced recently. And they're actually, we're helping them IPO as well at the moment. They should IPO in probably February of next year. And then on the InfoSec side, we've invested in a company called Get Visibility, which is coming out of Cork as well. And then in the AI space, we invested in Artomatics, which was a spin out of TCD, which was sold to Unity Technologies back in 2019 as well. So very broadly investing across those sectors. And very excited to be here and talking about what we do and investment in general.
Brilliant, excellent, and we'll get to that very, very soon. And it's fascinating to hear those cutting edge sectors that Sure Valley are targeting. Really exciting spaces. Alan, how are you? I'm a proud Kerry man, and the Rose of Tralee is always a centrepiece down in Kerry every year. You must be like the reigning Rose of Tralee now, waiting to pass the crown on to the 2021 champion. We'll talk about your investor journey in a little while, Alan, because I know you've gone on and raised a significant amount of money since last year. But just give us some background on Web Dataworks and what you guys do and what sector you operate in.
Is this the part now where I'm meant to actually do a dance or tell a story?
Yes, I'll ask you for your party piece. I didn't warn Barry and Niamh, they've to everybody's do a party piece as part of this as well. So get your poems, songs, or dances ready there, guys.
Excellent. My grandmother is from Kerry.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So I've only heard the C word mentioned once in the call all day, which is awesome. So I'm going to mention it the second time. COVID. When COVID happened, the bones of 2 years ago now, e-commerce exploded. And we saw a 5-year growth of e-commerce in 6 months. And the grandmother in Italy, who has barely picked up her phone in her life, suddenly was purchasing pasta online for the first time. And you'd think that, once we started getting a handle on things, which we kind of quasi are, that kind of online hockey curve would be starting to die down a bit. But it turns out that same grandmother is still mostly starting to actually keep up her purchases of pasta online, which is pretty amazing. So we're at a level in e-commerce, which is our space, that has experienced monster growth. But e-commerce is not just about selling that package of pasta. It's not just about the actual product. It's about the data around it. And that's where my company, Dataworks, come in. What we do is we collect e-commerce data at an extreme scale from e-commerce websites. And then we develop insights based on that data for global players around the world, like Unilever and Allegro and Procter & Gamble, that gives them a competitive edge. And that's what it's all about. So we're a big data company that churn huge amounts of data with huge amounts of insights to allow very large companies to make both micro and macro gains in this absolutely monster exploding industry.
Brilliant, excellent. That's a great summary of what you guys do, Alan. Brilliant. I'm going to mention the C word as well, the pandemic, or the P word. And just trying to get a sense, Barry, let's say we start with yourself in terms of what effect did COVID had on the investment landscape that you were kind of operating in terms maybe of the pipeline of companies coming in, or the appetite for investors in terms of their attitudes towards risk? Did that change in any way? What has it been like operating for the last 20 months for you guys?
Well, I suppose if I go back to March of 2020, I think the investment community at that stage did take a pause for about a quarter. And it was, if you think about what we do, is we invest in companies, but then we work with them to get the next round, which is the Series A. And we did see some of the Series A VCs a bit hesitant at that time. However, if you fast forward a couple of quarters after that, things really started to pick up. And I would say now is probably, I haven't seen a better time for a company to raise money, I'd say in about 20 years, because there's a huge, particularly in Ireland, there's a huge amount of investors investing in companies in Ireland. And also we've got a lot of really top tier VCs coming in from Silicon Valley, VCs coming in from across Europe, investing in Irish software companies. And also we've seen, let's say, the follow-on rounds, the valuations and let's say the Series A, Series B valuations are going up, and the amounts of capital that can be raised are going up as well. So there was definitely, I think definitely around the start of COVID, there was a bit of a dip, but I think everybody's come out of that dip and getting used to working in a kind of a part face-to-face, part remote working style at the moment. And just to give you a couple of examples of that, we invested in a pre-seed company. Typically, a seed investment is a bit of a spectrum. You'll have very, very early stage companies that are really kind of pre-seed, and then you'll have much later stage, which are much closer to Series A. And kind of what distinguishes them is the pre-seed companies might have no revenue at all, but a team and a really interesting product. The closer you get to Series A, the more you've got revenue, and the ultimate kind of Series A metric for a company is about $1 million in annual recurring revenue. So the closer you are to that, the closer you are to getting your Series A round. But we invested in a pre-seed company in London, which is a kind of a metaverse esports company. And it was really a pre-seed deal. We just loved the team, loved the space, invested a small amount of capital. And in 12 months, they've kind of bypassed the seed stage entirely. And are really, the round they're doing at the moment is really, the valuation on the round and the amount being raised is really a Series A round. So they kind of bypass seed. And what's interesting is there's a range of VCs coming together from Silicon Valley doing the follow-on investment in that deal. And we've seen that in Ireland as well. So I think right now is just a fantastic time to be raising capital. We have invested in companies where we didn't meet the founders face to face when we were doing the investment. We've only met them recently. And so it's entirely possible to raise capital now. It's a great time to do so.
Yeah, no, that's really fascinating. For me, sometimes people get caught up in kind of the numbers. The numbers are really important, but it's still very much a people-centric thing, investing in a team or whatever. And that pause that you mentioned early in the pandemic, we saw that as well with our investors. It was like everything just went on, just froze for a little while. So where is this going? And then once we kind of settled into it, you could see the appetite coming back for making these investments. No, it is fascinating. And Eve, in the Halo Business Angel Network, what effect did the pandemic have with your organization? And because I suppose HBAN, we're responsible on both sides. We're the pipeline of companies has to come through, and then we're also cultivating the investors and the syndicates and try and keep them fresh as well. So how has it been during the pandemic?
Yes, thank you, Aidan. Yeah, we do. We kind of manage both sides, I guess. So in terms of the companies, much like Barry was saying, initially there was a kind of a freeze, as everybody was there was a bit of shock in the market. But subsequent to that, then once we kind of got going online again, and people adapted to not meeting the teams, not seeing the whites of the eyes. We're on target to close 65 deals, or over 65 deals actually this year, and 15 million plus going into those individual companies. So for sure, there's still, you know, a very significant activity in the marketplace. We're oversubscribed in terms of companies coming into December. We, you know, have a strong pipeline for Q1 in terms of companies. It's been a little trickier in terms of the angel pipeline, you know, but having said that, you know, there's a lot of new initiatives that we've done around that. We've a lot of focus in terms of trying to increase diversity within our pipeline. So really, we've been kind of doubling down on those and working on those, and they actually have been returning really well. You know, I suppose, you know, people kind of like the, you know, meeting their peers and, you know, that kind of networking effect. And I suppose one of the beauties of syndicates is that you know, you're leveraging the knowledge of other people in the room, but likewise, that, you know, there's been an adaptation of that. One of the things that we've had to do from a HBAN perspective is chair a lot more follow-on meetings, whereas previously, pre-COVID, we would have had, you know, introduced, if there was, we always kind of said we were kind of a bit like a dating agency, right? We were kind of the first date, you know, goal was to secure, you know, the second date, and then we kind of handed that over to you, and the promoters were responsible for managing the deals from there on. Whereas now, actually, what we're having to do, the deals have become much more complex. So we're seeing a lot more, Barry, probably the same. We're seeing a lot more syndicate to syndicates, you know, a lot of overseas, which is really beneficial in terms of, you know, investment into the companies. So we're doing a lot of co-investing with more overseas syndicates, because, you know, people aren't having to travel and that kind of thing. But what we do now is we actually chair follow back meetings. So we do the deep dive kind of and chair those meetings for them, because it can be a little bit, you know, if you're dealing with maybe 3 or 4 syndicates, and you get opportunities to, you know, you might have pitched to Dubai and Singapore, you might have pitched to New York, as well as Kerry, as well as, you know, West Northwest, whatever it might be, and it can be a bit like herding cats, quite frankly. So we sort of facilitate that follow on. And that has helped in terms of just maintaining the momentum of the round, really. And that can be tricky, you know, that can be trickier for people when they're doing it. You know, you're managing a lot of different groups, getting times, and managing that kind of the sharing of documentation, all of that kind of. So we're sort of facilitating that a lot more in terms of even the kind of, you know, the legal communications and stuff between the companies and that. But
yeah, no, it is. And I think the feedback we're getting, I think that our investors are loving the online nature, because they can, they don't have to travel to the pitch events. They can process a lot more opportunities on video. And the companies, the feedback, they absolutely hate it. As you said, they can't look the investors in the eye. They can't have that cup of coffee. And some people just come across more personable when they're face to face, I suppose. And for us going forward, it is going to be very interesting how we manage that process in terms of video, in person, hybrid models, and it's going to be really, really interesting. And Alan, so thanks, Neil, for that. Alan, you went on during the year to raise $1 million plus in investment. Can you give us a flavor of how that process worked? Because I'm always fascinated with startups, and we say, you know, that the journey of startup must go on. You must develop the product, you must get the MVP, you must get that first customer, and then you move into the phase of raising investment. And look, it's a cliche to say, but you're juggling a lot of balls in the air, if that's your party piece, maybe. But yeah, how was that process? And how did, let's say, you went from 0 to $1 million in investment, and how did you find that process?
Hard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an engineer. I'm not a business person, and I call myself the reluctant CEO. I mean, I seem to be doing okay with it so far, but whenever I get the right person, I'll be stepping back into my preferred role, which is knee deep in code. I think my investment story is reasonably classic. I built a proof of concept. I showed it to some potential customers. They liked it. They offered to invest in my company because actually it was solving a really big problem for them that they couldn't solve themselves. And that was great validation, but it wasn't enough, and it wasn't enough money that they were offering to, you know, to fund the thing to completion and to bring it to market, because that's ultimately what it's all about. So I went to the local BIC, and they took me in hand. helped me to refine my deck and the story. From there, I engaged with Enterprise Ireland and got a network link to a set of US investors. And between everybody, over a period of 6 months, we brought it together and got over $1 million in funding at a great valuation. And
we're here today, Alan, to say how difficult it is to get investments. You make it sound very easy.
I know, but I make it sound easy, but actually it wasn't. It's like, you see that duck or the swan floating in the water and everything is calm above, but underneath the legs are going like crazy, and the amount of sweat and stress and everything else is huge. Everything else.
What do you feel, Alan, unlocked? Let's say the investors into DataWorks. Was it the team? Was it the problem you're solving? Was it what customers? What do you feel was the key that ultimately?
Of the above. There is no single thing. It is all of the above, and it is the right mix. And you may go to some investors and they are a little bit more interested in the team. Some are a little bit more interested in the product. Some are a little bit more interested in this. Ultimately, it is the mix, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll go in and you'll get some people and they'll say, oh, put your team deck up first. Other people say, put your pain deck up first, put your market deck up first, right? But at the end of the day, it's all of those things, right? You have to have the right combination. And actually this goes back to another thing, right? It's the right combination of all of those things that will make an interesting investment, because anybody can have an idea, right? Ideas are cheap. What's not easy and what is bloody difficult is execution. And it's execution to get it to the plan stage and then to execute that plan. That's bloody difficult, right? And it's incredibly difficult to do it on your own. And do not underestimate the power of the assistance that is out there to help you. And when you're going even there and you think you're on your own, right? Even if you're saying, I can't find the right CEO, I can't find the right CTO, identify what those profiles will look like and say to your investors, I know what I need, it's this here. I've identified some person who said they will come in when we have the funding, whatever, they're available to pick up the phone call to, just because you don't have all of the pieces of the pie doesn't mean you can't proceed to look for funding. The singular most important thing is that you can show that you can take this idea and make it into a business, because it ain't about the idea. It's about the business and the people behind that can develop and then grow that into a scalable thing that will give a great ROI for investors.
There's that keyword, scalable. And before I just move on again to another topic, Alan, just that process of the investors looking under the hood, lifting the bonnet, that due diligence phase, how important was that as well? And what do startups need to consider when they're about to be that due diligence is about to be undertaken by the investors? It's fine, let's say, to do the pitch, but the real work is done at that due diligence phase. Is there a lot of preparation and a lot of effort at your end when that process was undertaken?
There is, yeah. The bottom line is that you have to be real and you have to know your fundamentals. So there's no point going in and saying, oh, hey, look, the market's worth 3 gazillion. And if only I capture 1%, right? That's absolute BS. What you need to do is you need to drive it down to say, it may be worth a gazillion, right? But who is this very specific market that I'm going for? Because if you try and go wide like that, you'll get nowhere. You can't do it. Start with one core problem and one core focus. Drill absolutely 10 miles deep into that and solve that and dominate that particular thing. And then you can go wide. But don't think you can do everything, because you absolutely can't. And when you get into a call with your investors, they will ask you about that. And they will want to know that you understand that it's about going incredibly deep and dominating. It's not about trying to go wide, because guess what? Shotguns are useful up close, but they're not worth the damn when it's far away. And that far away is called scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to change tack slightly. And, today is about the big pitch, and we have a discussion going on in the background. Just, Niamh, the importance of the pitch itself within the process of raising investment. What do you look for in a good pitch, and position it within the whole process of investing? Like, is it a big part of the process, or is it just quickly forgotten once you move on to due diligence or whatever? And so what are you looking for initially in a pitch, let's say, when you see a pitch?
Yeah, I suppose, we would, because we see such a broad sector of companies, we will assess every company holistically. We do look at pre-revenue companies. They're not a huge percentage of what we see, but having said that, we certainly would look for them. So really it depends on sector. So, a med tech is going to be pre-revenue, right? Because it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to get them to commercialization. Whereas maybe, a SaaS product, we're going to be looking for companies that are revenue generating. Really, we're looking for things around, what is it about your product that ensures that people are already solving the problem? So why are they going to switch to your product? Why is yours so much better? So they're going to make the effort to do that. Are they going to part with their cash for you to solve their problem for them? How defensible is the product? If it's an actual physical product that's going on a shelf, we'll be looking at the types of SKUs that you have, the distribution network. We're for sure looking at the experience of the team. So, if you're coming in and this is not your first time round and you've had a success and you're coming back in again, and you're looking for funding and you've already had an exit, there's a small percentage of that, but we would be looking at, for sure, you're probably going to raise quicker. But likewise, if you have domain expertise, so if you're spinning out of a multinational and you have a real world problem, with a real world solution, you understand your route to market. Again, as Alan was saying, just to reiterate on that, like, companies don't fail because they don't build great products. They fail because they don't make the sales. And understanding how, really understanding your how they're segmenting that market. And, we don't expect you to have all the answers is what I'd say, but we want to be able to challenge you on your assumptions and for you to be able to answer us around that. So that is things like, doing a bottom up analysis of the market and not just that kind of that top down sort of, 1%. So, being able to stand over those assumptions and showing us that you've done your research around them, and that you understand it. Yeah, I think they're really critical things that we would look for. Obviously, when we're getting down to the financials and understanding that, so looking at, are you so if you've got a SaaS product and you're releasing different products, well, where does that feed into your P&L? Or if you've got different SKUs, well, where does that feed into your P&L? You're telling this story, and when it gets to the bottom and you're coming to your financials, that's tying the bow for the investors, because we want to kind of show that this all makes sense, right? From a business perspective, and that it is scalable.
I think that is the challenge, that there's no magic formula. As you said, everything has to be taken in a holistic point of view and judgments made as they present themselves. I think is the important thing. I think
it's going to be different for every company,
Absolutely,
but you're up there to tell your story, so tell your story really well. And what you want to be able to do is, so is the pitch important? Yes, because it's your first introduction. You're putting your best foot forward, and showing them, you're de-risking this as an investment opportunity. You want to give them enough of a hook that they kind of go, I want to hear more about this. And that's really important. The more due diligence, just to say as well, like the more due diligence ready you are in terms of investment, picking up on what Alan said, the quicker you're going to be able to move your round along. I think people, maybe the perception of what is investor ready is it can be misunderstood. Really, it's kind of, you need to be ready for your due diligence and making sure that if you come into us and you have your data room ready.
Absolutely, and we could spend a whole session on that. That is so important. It really is, and people underestimate it. Barry, with Sure Value Ventures, position for us the pitch and where it lives within your process. How important is it, or is it just a stepping stone to something else, or what do you look for in a good pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pitch deck is essential, and I suppose the key thing I'd highlight is that it's essential all the way along the journey for an entrepreneurial team, all the way to exit. Because if you think about it, a company that goes down the venture capital route has to raise multiple rounds of funding, and the pitch deck changes and evolves over time as well. And actually, one of the things that we do as part of our process once we've invested in a company, we have what we call a platform, which is a series of value-added supports that we provide to companies that we invest in. And around month 16, I'll actually break it down by quarter, what we do in Q1, Q2, and so on. But around month 16, we'll start the prep to go out and raise the Series A round, and pitch deck becomes a very important focus then as well, along with financial model. But coming right back to when we do the investment at the seed stage, I mean, the best pitch decks for us are, they're approximately 10 slides. They cover all of the core areas. Actually, there's great pitches here today. There's always a resource that I link companies to. Guy Kawasaki, the only 10 slides you need to pitch, the art of the start, and getting across the business in that holistic way in 10 slides is hard. Actually, it's a hard challenge to kind of distill what is a complex business, even at an early stage, into 10 slides. But it's a really important skill, because it helps the team kind of communicate succinctly to investors what the opportunity is, but it also helps think about the business as well, and the points that Alan made in terms of focus in the business. That's a very important thing also. The one thing I will say too is we have a broad team. So I forgot to say earlier on, we're kind of an Anglo-Irish team. So we're based in Waterford, Dublin, London, Cambridge, and also we're just about to open a Manchester office. And we kind of do work remotely as part of that. And we're happy to do remote pitches, although increasingly in the UK we're doing face-to-face, and that's been going on for some time. But the one thing I will tell you is, having met thousands of companies at this stage, there's always you will always meet companies that when the meeting finishes, you go, oh my God, we have to invest in that business. The really great opportunities stand out when you're meeting thousands of companies, and it's different for different VCs. And one piece of advice I would give is, know the VC or investor that you're meeting, because everybody's working off different strategies. Everybody's looking for different types of companies, and for us, market opportunity, product market fit, market opportunity is very important for us, because what we have built internally is we have a vision as to how certain markets will evolve over time. So, for example, in Metaverse, we've had a vision since 2017, when we first created it, as to how that market's going to evolve. And we're looking for certain companies in certain spaces. So when a company walks in and has an amazing pitch, and that's in a sector that you're looking to invest in, there's an immediate click. Yeah. And things can happen very quickly from that point on. And I'll give you just maybe one example of that. There's a company we invested in called Admix, which is a London-based company, and they are effectively the advertising platform for the metaverse. And the minute they walked into the room and gave us the pitch, and they were still incredibly early, by the way, and one of the things that distinguishes us is we are conviction investors. We will invest earlier than many other investors. The minute that we received the pitch, we immediately knew we should invest in that business. And actually, a lot of the rest of the DD was validating that decision and making sure there was no red flags. So decisions can be made very, very quickly, but the DD process as an institutional investor, as Alan mentioned, there is a DD process that we have to go through before making an investment. But final thing is, I think a lot of VCs will be very product market orientated. So showing that you've got a differentiated product that solves a real world problem for a real customer, that has a massive market opportunity, ultimately, may not be today, but you can see how it would be one. That's probably the best pitch that will work for us.
Brilliant. Some great advice there, Barry. I see the judges have come back, and I've been texted here to wind this up. But before we wind up, and I'm just going to ask a very, very cliched question here. We've got about 60 seconds, so we've got about 20, 30 seconds each. My maths isn't great. We have a lot of startups on with us this morning, watching the big pitch, starting out their investment journey. So what piece of advice at this stage, if you're very early, you're looking at planning out your investment journey, what piece of advice would you give to those startups? Alan?
You've heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we're very, very unique and privileged in Ireland with the supports that are available to us. And it's the job of the local experts in the BICs, like Rosemary and Aidan, to help you figure out what your gaps are and then connect you to the right people in their network to get you up and running. So my critical advice is ask for advice, ask early, and ask often. And finally, ask locally. People want to help. They're there to help. Reach out.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alan. Niamh, your 20 seconds.
Yeah, I would say yes, for sure. Come and talk to us. We would always say it's never too early to come and talk to us. We're more than happy to chat at any stage. So please reach out. I think, go and talk to your customers is one of the key takeaways. I would say, get out there, go talk to them, find out what their real problems are, listen to them. Don't try and sell. Take that feedback, take it into your product, take it to your team. And if you can start with your customer's problem and work backwards from there, I would always say that's a really good place to be in.
Brilliant. And Barry, as Amy Dunphy would say, last word to you.
Well, I would agree with exactly what Niamh and Alan just said, and maybe just to add one final thing is it's best if you can get a warm introduction to an investor. I'm sure Niamh is the same. I would receive probably 30 cold emails a day. The ones that stand out are the warm introductions from people I know.
Okay, brilliant. Guys, thank you so much. The time has absolutely just flown by. I could spend the next hour talking to you. Some real gems of wisdom and advice there. Alan, thank you. Barry, Niamh, thank you so much. So the time has arrived. We're going to hear who has won the Big Pitch 2021. So I'd invite Keith and the other judges, Julian, and I'm not sure if Louise is still with us, to join us. And maybe the companies turn on their cameras as well, so you can put on your happy, clappy face when it's like the Oscars. The camera will be shone upon you. Keith, before the big announcement, did you want to say a few words on behalf of the judging panel?
Yeah, and look, I don't know how many times we've heard this. It was difficult, but very few points between first and second, and a lot of deliberation went on behind the scenes between all three of us. And again, I think that's testament to three really, really solid pitches we witnessed today. But it honestly wasn't easy. A lot of back and forward between the ultimate winner. But I have to say, personally, from my perspective, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The understanding and the domain knowledge known by everybody here today pitching for this was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And one of the comments Louise had made, and unfortunately I think she has dropped off the line, but she wanted to say, I think the importance of a pitching session like this, it's very different from reading the written word. We all got so much more from watching the pitches today, not only from the passion, but there were elements from the applications I struggled with last night, and just today with the pitches and the clarity and the questions, it was so easy to really get a firm understanding. So well done to all of you. Great preparation. I really, really mean that. It was absolutely fantastic. So I'll just give you first I won't announce the winner yet, but I will just give you some of the judges' comments for
You're killing us here, Keith. You're killing us.
Yeah, I know. I was told. Rosemary told me to try and drag it out like the Oscars. No, listen, what we'll do here, but the judges were impressed with clarity of pitch, high energy, great team, strong domain knowledge. Clearly outlines the global opportunity for the business, which was really, really clear for us. And I suppose what differentiates them from the competitors. Fantastic market assessments, probably one of the best of the day, I have to be honest. Understood the pain points for a customer and identified and provided a solution. So in first place, and as I say, it was very, very tight, is Zurb. So well done.
Well done, Philly.
Well done, Philly.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thanks a million. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, delighted with the feedback. And I know there's probably 2 lads shouting on the YouTube channel as well. Delighted as well. So, God, yeah, thanks a million.
Congratulations, the winner of the Big Pitch 2021. Well done. And commiserations to Clouda and to Avow. Well done, guys. Excellent pitches.
On that, Aidan, just we do have second place. So for the iPad. So
okay.
Again, just to give quickly, judges found pitch was excellent, well prepared, highlighted the opportunity in the market. Maybe a little bit niche at the moment, but it's one that we all felt that we will watch with interest over the next year. Strong team. It was proven the fact that the two of them worked together in 3 separate ventures. They tag teaming off each other really well. So in second place today was Clouda. So again, well done, guys.
Well done, guys. Again, congratulations.
And Jane, finally, from your perspective, again, brilliant presentation. You've got a great team. Your domain knowledge is just absolutely second to none, and the passion I think that you relayed today was just came out in bounds. One of the areas that I think we would love to see and watch you with interest will be the results from the trials, both from the customer and the patient. And you're certainly on my radar. So listen, well done to you, and well done to everybody today. And thank you so much. Really, really, really great presentations.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Keith. So yeah, so that's it. Many congratulations to Zurb, and continued success to them, and to our other finalists, Clouda and Avow. Best of luck in your future journeys. It was brilliant to see the caliber and the strength of the pitches, and as Keith highlighted there, the ability to answer the questions with great knowledge and authority. I think that really stood out for me. The pitches were great, but I think the Q&A sessions were handled absolutely brilliantly. And I think the 3 companies today have really showcased the quality that exists here in the Southeast, and we're looking forward to working with them and the other applicants as well in the coming 12 months. Just a couple of thank yous before we finish up. Thanks for judging panel to Keith, Louise and Julian. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. And it's not a cliche to say, but it was a difficult decision from what I gathered as well. Thank you so much to Niamh, to Barry and Alan for your insights and contribution on the panel. Alan, your crown has been virtually taken off and placed upon Philly's head now for the next 12 months. So thank you so much, Alan, and continued success to DataWorks as well. A huge thanks to the team, to Siobhan and Rosemary on the call today, and to my other colleagues, Denise, Carl and Michelle. And a big shout out to Rosemary. In fairness, Rosemary has spent the last few months on this mammoth task of organising this, organising the big pitch. It's her baby, and for pulling it all together. So Rosemary, a big thank you for that. That is it. We will see you all, some of you, hopefully this time next year for the big pitch 2022. So stay well, stay safe, and see you all soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Aidan. Well done.
Cheers.